Welcome everyone to the League of Goddesses interview series. This platform is for sharing insight into the tools, methods, and thought processes that the most badass women, and sometimes men, in the world use to attain their dreams. Our amazing guests will share their intimate, tried and true practices that have taken them decades to create and compile to help you propel yourself to attaining your biggest dreams. This is the real shit that I wish I had known sooner. Today's guest is president of Do Wealth Management, a firm that specializes in building virtual family offices for elite entrepreneurs. In 1999, she and her husband, Jim, established the firm. Today, Do Wealth Management is thriving and the living proof of Mimi's powerhouse ability to achieve her long-term goals. As president of the firm, she oversees the financial activities, marketing, and overall efficient operations of the firm. In addition to Do Wealth, she is passionate about health, fitness, and has over 30 years of experience in it. Her other passions include spending time with Jackson, the dog she and Jim rescued as a puppy, and charitable causes for children. And total side note, fun fact, she is a former NFL Arizona Cardinals and Pro Bowl cheerleader, which is so awesome. I'm like, that's awesome. Now that I have told you about her accomplishments and credentials, let me share with you why I'm personally ecstatic to have Mimi here. I actually met Mimi at Genius Network, and I immediately knew that she was a badass. I could tell by her presence that one of her superpowers was being able to connect with others and build lasting relationships quickly and efficiently. Mimi is ingenious, tenacious, but all while remaining genuine and charming. When we met, she started sharing her story and knowledge about running a successful business with her husband for 20 years, and she had me hooked. I wanted to know more about how she had created the successful business, partnership, and marriage for over 2 decades. I literally wanted all of her secrets, as I'm sure you do, and today she's offered to share them with us all. So without further ado, I am so excited to introduce Mimi to you. Mimi, thank you for being here, and thank you for joining us. I'm really anxious to just dive right into your awesomeness. So instead of presuming, let me ask my first question. What are you most passionate about teaching or sharing with other entrepreneurs?
First of all, I want to say, Alicia, it's such an honor to be on your show. So thank you so much for the lovely introduction and just, again, inviting me. So as far as the what I enjoy teaching to other, there's so many things that I enjoy teaching is about relationships. You mentioned something about deeply connecting, and I feel that in our business world, we're constantly just running, working on the technical aspects of things, and that's where the main focus is. And so I feel that how we thrive as far as building relationships is really critical, and one of the key features in running a successful business. So I love teaching in that aspect.
I couldn't agree with you more. I feel like you are stellar at it. What is it that made you pick, for instance, that subject? Was it just because it came naturally to you, or have you had to cultivate this? What is it about that sets you on fire?
That sets me on fire as far as teaching and about relationships. I have this deep burning desire as far as connecting people, making sure that the best come out of people. When I see other people succeed in whatever platform, whatever type of role that they're in, it makes my heart just soar. So it's something that deeply burns within me. So.
I know that is so true, because when I met you at Genius Network and I was the new girl on the block, you were just so sweet. Just immediately, I met you and it was like we had known each other for a long time, and you immediately took me over to meet your friends, and I was like, this lady's awesome. Totally just instant, credibility and down to earth and willing to share and go deep too, not just superficial. So I knew, I was like, she has a superpower for this. So
Thank you
totally
so
awesome.
much, Alicia. And first of all, I think it's so important the more that you help others. And, you always hear of the cattiness among women
Mhm.
and the competition. I don't, I believe in healthy competition, but I believe that when you help others, that'll make you a better person and grow. And so when we met, you were so easy. I mean, talk about somebody who's an amazing connector, Alicia. You were floating around talking to many other people, so it was easy to introduce you around.
You're so sweet. I enjoy connecting too. It's something that I feel it's a skill that I feel like I've honed over, my life. For you more so, I just saw that it came so naturally to you. Like and it could have been a skill that you honed too, but girl, if that is one that you had to hone, you slayed it. Because I was just like, this was just naturally be her thing. Whereas me, and I know you won't believe this, I'm a little bit more of an introvert. So it's taken time for me to learn to cultivate like, oh, this is how it goes. And I think some of it was the fact that I was homeschooled almost my whole life. And so I really just, when I need to recharge, I need to be by myself, and I enjoy that so much. So for me, I kind of categorize it as being on or off. So I either am on and I'm participating and there's a lot of effort going into it, or I'm off and I'm recuperating. And
You need
so
to recharge,
yeah,
sure.
yeah. So when I saw you, I was just like, wow, what a natural, just, it's beautiful. So I won't go on and on about that. I just enjoyed the experience so much.
Thank you so much.
So can you tell me, how do you feel like you gained this expertise? Because I do believe it is an expertise and it takes a lot of practice. And then also you can't let it go. It's like the second you decide to not care is the second all those relationships kind of go down the drain. So how did you go about gaining this knowledge, the way that you behave, and then, staying on top of it and maintaining it?
You know, um, Well, let me go back to my childhood. I grew up in an unsafe environment, and so I was always craving that connection and having being with others. And so, um, growing up and not having a safe environment, you want to connect so much with people. And so it started off early years, with school, with wanting to try to fit in, wanting to make sure that everybody, making sure that people feel comfortable. So it came from that and just looking to help others because you're craving that love so much. And so, because of that, I think it just started off early and you just kind of fine tune things and you observe and then you grow to look at the best, look at the best of people and bring out the best of people and disarm people and take down the walls, I guess is the best way to do it because I wanted to connect because I was craving that. So I guess it's just really over time. It wasn't, it came out of necessity. It came out of necessity and want, I guess is the best way to answer.
That's so intriguing. So the way that I picture what you just told me is that, and please step in if I'm misinterpreting, but because you were trying to build these connections with others, the best way that you saw as a child and then honed in on over your lifetime is by building up the people that you wanted to connect with.
Yes.
So you see someone, you meet them, and then you're like, this person is awesome, and I want to show everyone. And so you put their best foot forward for them. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes. Yes. Well
Love it.
said.
That makes sense because I'm just like, oh, who wouldn't love someone who not only sees the best in you and sees your potential, but tells everyone about it. It's just like, wow, that's an awesome friend. Yeah.
I mean,
I,
why
I
don't we
knew
do
you were a natural. I'm like, look at this. Of course she is. Okay.
each other?
Nice. You confirmed it for me. That's awesome. Okay. So then with knowing that this connecting with people and building others up and showing the world who people are really capable of being, can you tell me what you feel for someone who maybe this doesn't come naturally to just because they haven't had the same scenarios? What would be your best tip or piece of advice if they're trying to learn the techniques that you've talked about?
So, Alicia, that's a great question. And my husband and I, so Jim and I, support a charity that focuses on youths that are at risk, that come from, that just don't have means, or they have, it's a single parent, or a parent that's in prison, just from just difficult childhood situations. And, you know, you're being beaten down, and constantly being told that you can't do something, can't doing something. So eventually it just becomes a language. That's what your brain believes. And so the thing that we've really taught these kids is that anything is possible. Just try it on. So, for example, they are so scared. They build this wall, and it's easier not to try something. And so to take action, to try, it starts giving you that confidence, a little bit more power. And even though it doesn't work out, you continue to try it on. So then you pivot, and then you try something else. So we call it try it on. So it's really to just take action and try it on.
Oh, I like it. I like that you say it that way too. Like, hey, just because you try it on, it's like clothes. If you don't like it and it doesn't work, try something else
Try
on.
something else on.
This isn't like you're stuck. You said you were going to be this way or do this thing, and now you have to do it forever. No, just try it on. It's okay. It can come off if you don't like it.
It's not permanent.
Yeah, it's not permanent. That's such a peaceful way to encourage someone who maybe is nervous or, like you said, guarded. I mean, there's areas in my life that I've become guarded, and just listening to you say that, like, girl, I'm going to save it for me. Like, try it on. Just try it on. Mimi said it's okay.
Try it on.
Okay, so we do have a live listener today, and he's actually asking if he is shy and in a group, how do you recommend connecting more easily? So for you, it's natural, but if I'm shy and not sure, what could this person try on to try to see if they could fit in a little bit more naturally?
And I know it's difficult when you're a shy person, and it's a lot of being in a group setting, even if you feel shy, it's about stories. And when you're genuinely interested in another person's stories, it's so easy to engage the other person, or the people in the group. They'll start telling you their stories. And from there, it's easy to start asking more questions. It starts this whole domino effect of questions. So I would just suggest to that person, rather than feeling like you have to be the one to entertain or take that focus on yourself, is it's about getting to know the other people, because people have amazing stories. And so it's just about asking rather than talking about yourself. So Alicia, gosh, I'm really interested in how you and your husband, Charles, built the company together. How is that partnership? I mean, what made you decide to go into business together? So it's really finding more, being really intentional about finding and uncovering stories.
Nice.
So that's what I would suggest.
I feel like that is, it's so funny that I hear you say it, because I felt like you were a natural at it and I had to try. And that is exactly what I do. I try to ask questions. And then when a question is presented, I'm like, oh, what part of that piques my curiosity? And then continue. So I couldn't agree with you more, Mimi. If there was one more tip that you could share, and we can do it in regards to this question if you'd like, what is a great, like, maybe conversation starter? Do you have one go-to that you're like, okay, I always ask this question to people and I always get a good response whenever I'm trying to get to know them?
A good conversation starter. So usually I ask, again, it's about something to do either with travel. It could be, and then I'll pivot from there. So I'll just say, what's an exotic area that you've traveled to, or what's an exotic place that you would like to go to. It's just it has more to do with travel, and then I can gauge to see where the interest may lie. It could be a little bit more. So I guess that's where I start, because usually travel seems to have a commonality. Most people want to travel. Most people have a place, or they're thinking of a place. So that's what I would start with, that. Or one other thing, though, it's also about family, is asking about, tell me a little bit more about your parents. What your parents, not what you did, but tell me about what your parents did. And then it leads from one question, then I get a sense of, how did this person grow up? What was his or her childhood like? So those are the two areas. So it's either travel, or what did your parents do? You know, where did you grow up, and what did your parents end up doing? And so it kind of leads one question after another.
Oh, I like it. I think that's a great idea and phenomenal. So if you would say, so what, if I'm getting this right, you would say first try to find commonalities. So maybe if travel wasn't something that I was really good at asking questions on, try to figure out something that you feel most people enjoy. So it could be, if you're dealing with a group of guys, maybe sports or some type of commonality, and then dive in that way. And when you said earlier that you gauge like how this is going with the person, is that kind of like you're trying it on them? You're like,
Yeah.
okay, well, how travel fits them, and then if it goes good, then you keep going. And if
I
not,
try that, and it's like, oh, this
this one doesn't fit you.
is not working well. Let's try something else.
It's not your color. My bad.
No.
Okay. But would you say that's accurate? You're just like test the waters and then, adjust as necessary.
Absolutely. And it's also getting over that fear of, that I sound stupid, or I'm going to ask a stupid question. There really isn't. When you're trying to get to know somebody, there isn't a stupid question. It's maybe the story that you're telling yourself. And then another thing that I do is, when I really want to get to know people, don't build a story in my head. I've got to keep trying, because the story, is that really going to serve me in trying to get to know this person? So, yeah.
Oh, maybe that, okay, that's tip number 2. Stop building stories in your head about people, because I guess it never really occurred to me before. I probably would say, oh, just remain open-minded. But open-minded is one thing, but being intentional about not building stories about people in your head, that's even more honed in. I love it. And I could easily see how there have probably been times when I built stories in my head that weren't accurate. And then you realize that person's totally awesome. Well, They were always totally awesome. It was you, not them. So what a great tip. That's phenomenal. Thank you for sharing those. I've really enjoyed it. And I feel like I got so much in so little time. So that's wonderful. Let's move on. I kind of want to dive into, because you and Jim are just powerhouses, and I admire what you guys have been able to accomplish so much. I mean, yes, the business, and yes, over 2 decades of all of that, that's amazing. But even more amazing to me is your ability to not only, make all of those accomplishments happen, but to be in such a loving and happy marriage while it happened, and like cultivate that relationship and keep it going. So my first question is, can you take me into the apex moment in your career in this company with Jim so far?
The apex moment of, oh my goodness. Well, first of all, I am so lucky, and I'm grateful that I have a beautiful partnership with a great human being. He's just such a great human, who is very loving, brilliant. We have our moments, of course, but the apex of our business partnership was when we decided to go into business together. The pivotal moment was 1999. when we decided to go into business together and create an independent firm. It was not done back then, is just to go, you know what, we're going to throw caution to the wind, and we have to do what's right and make sure that our entrepreneur clients come first. So entrepreneur clients come first before the interests of our own. Back then in 1999, it was dealing with other brokerage houses, other broker dealers, and things like that. So that's when we just said, caution to the wind, we're going to do it our way, and we're going to build it our way, and we're going to build a model that makes sense
to you. How phenomenal. Can you tell me, what did you learn from that level of, maybe it wasn't really attainment yet because it was your beginning, but what did you learn looking back, hindsight's 2020, from that experience?
What did we learn? You mean as far as working together as a couple, or?
You could definitely go that route, or, and I'm sorry if my question wasn't phrased well enough, what I would love to know is, what did you learn from that entire experience of saying, you know what, we're going to throw caution to the wind and we're going to do it our way? So you didn't have any examples. There wasn't someone that's like, oh, if you do this, this, and this, most likely you'll end up here. You
Right.
guys you're like, this is what we're seeing is broken and we're going to offer a solution. So what?
It was a clean slate. It was such a clean slate. And I mean, the work, so hard. I mean, tremendously hard. But I've got to tell you, when there's a fire inside and when you're building something that's brand new, it's not hard. It doesn't become hard work. We were just so willing to do anything and create the model and serve our entrepreneur clients that, I mean, sure, there was nothing to, like you said, fall back on. There wasn't a particular recipe. There wasn't anything that we could look at and go, oh, that other firm or that other group did it this way. We just kept working and working, and what we've learned is that we could always pivot. We could always, I'm going back to that try it on.
I'm like, she's a master pivoter. But hey, isn't that life, Mimi? It's like, you know what, you can have your best laid plans, and it's, in my point of view, really important that you do make plans, knowing that they most likely aren't going to happen how you've delineated them out. But the fact that you took the time to delineate them, it already has your creative juices going. And I think the people that are most successful, like you and Jim, are the people who can, when their plans don't follow exactly, they pivot. And it's natural. Pivoting is natural for you. And so I could see how many ways this would serve you. So it's just phenomenal. Wow. Okay. So I just keep saying this, and I'm sorry, I sound like a broken record. I should probably have my video guy cut it out. But I am learning so much from you. And I told my assistant, Crystal, and Patrick, I was like, I am so excited to interview this woman, because anybody who can keep a marriage and a business together for 20 years and do it with such grace and happiness, I mean, we all have a lot to learn. So I'm like, Charles and I have done it for, a few. And I'm like,
I think you're doing very well.
I'm like, sometimes it's, it tests your patience a little bit, but I think that it's wonderful to have examples, and then especially women who are willing to share how they've done it. So thank you. This is phenomenal. So let me go ahead, and I'm totally stealing a piece from your rule book. I would love to know a little bit more, if you're comfortable with it, about your childhood. Who was Mimi before, the Mimi who owned this big company and was the president of it and had employees and staff and everything that you've got now? Who was Mimi?
Well, Mimi, first generation immigrant. And so my father brought us to this country. I actually was born in Seoul, Korea. Wow. And so I was 5 years old when we immigrated to this country. None of us, you might have family, none of us spoke English. And my parents, so going back to the parents question, remember what we talked about just a little bit ago, is my father was an orphan. And my mother was the daughter of a peasant farmer. So very, very humble beginnings. But my father got his start, he was the Korean national Taekwondo champion in 1968 and 69. So that gave him a start in teaching the military Taekwondo. So he was able to get a sponsorship to come to America. And even before the word entrepreneur was popular, he was an entrepreneur. He always said, America is the greatest country to live in. You have, if you work hard, I mean, I can still hear it in his broken English. Is, if you working hard, your dream come true. You know, working hard, you know, dream come true.
You said it well.
So that's my background, from humble, very humble beginnings. We absolutely had nothing, food stamps, but it was just that burning desire. It's like anything is possible in this country. And but my father, not having any parents, not having any love, was very difficult. And so he pushed us very, very hard. And I'm the oldest. And so he was having me read contracts, pay bills, really take care of the whole household, run our enterprise. And, when I was 8 years old, when I could, you know, read and write, or as soon as I could read and write.
Yes.
So that was, I grew up very fast at an early age, taking care of the family, taking care of the family finances, and then pushing myself through school. Then I went on, and my father and I had a very difficult relationship, because me being the oldest, I'm the daughter, and he being leading with an iron fist, I guess is probably the best, you know, just being super dominant and controlling, and me at the same time becoming a very strong personality and independent at the same time. So that's what I grew up with, is just taking care of a family, taking care of finances, and then eventually taking care of myself and putting myself through school in college. So it was a matter of just always knowing that whatever I strive for, I could do it, I could do it, I could do it, but at the same time trying to connect with people, because that's what I was missing at home.
Oh, I could see how difficult that could be. I wasn't adopted, but I can try to, you know, empathize. And if you don't have good role models, you know, or maybe he had to live without love too. And so for him, like, how could he give a gift that he didn't even understand himself?
Right.
Then from your side, I could see how disappointing that would be, because you just want to be loved. But so much that you learned from it, Mimi. I know everybody says, you know, it doesn't kill you, makes you stronger. So it's like a
my father was the greatest teacher. Yeah. My father was the greatest teacher, and you know, I wouldn't be who I wouldn't be who I am today without my father. And talk about somebody who showed me that anything is possible. Sure.
Yeah. I mean, that is phenomenal. And obviously you are living proof that anything is possible. And look at you. So I'm sure that you made your family very, very proud. Can you tell me what you feel was the hardest thing that you have had to overcome in your journey so far?
The hardest thing that I've had to overcome. Gosh, I've just trying to think so far today. See, when I think about that, is let me put some thought to that. I feel, gosh, I've been in, even though starting a business, there's always so much hardships and everything that comes with starting a business. But I feel like just overcoming my childhood and just having all this opportunity to today, I feel like I have so many opportunities today. I don't know how to best answer that, Alicia.
I feel like maybe just from the brief portions that you've shared, maybe having the childhood that you had made you so able to overcome things that you don't even see them as hardships. You're like, that's easy, I got it. Because a lot of times I feel like we have a tendency to create problems that really don't exist. We only have this one moment, and it's the present moment in the now. And there's never a problem this exact moment that we can't handle.
We can't.
Right?
Yeah,
It's
right.
like, have I ever had any of those? No, because I'm still here. So,
Yeah. You know, let me take that back. Actually, the things that I've had more on a personal level is what I would say. With, you know, there's always the business challenges, of course, but more on a personal level is I've always been such a grinder. It's just pushing, that negative voice in the head. And I've had to really work on self-compassion and understanding that self-compassion is actually going to uh, get me more ahead and drive me further and continue to grow. So those are the things that that I'm working through more so now, instead of that constant negative voice and pushing myself, thinking that the negative voice is going to help me to attain the goals faster. It's really the self-compassion that I'm working through right now.
yeah, I'm really curious, just because you've hit such an important thing on the head. I am the same way. I'm a driver, and I will drive myself to attain my dreams, and usually it is because of that same negative voice in your head, like, you don't need the break, you just need to get the job done, get the fucking job done. That's all it's ever about. No one's telling me this, it's just me. And then if I want to break, I'm like, well, that's weak, isn't it? You know, I'm like, well, good God. Sometimes I listen to myself and I'm like, you would never say that to someone else. Why are you saying that? Right? It's, and my husband told me it once, and I mean, excuse the term, he is a country boy, but he was like, you wouldn't treat your best racehorse that way. Why would you treat yourself that way and then expect to win a race? And I was just like, well, when you say it that way, he's like, if you're the best racehorse, then you're pampered and taken care of. And then when it's time for you to run, you fucking run and win. And I was like, well, okay. The country analogies here, I understood them. And I was just like, okay. So I have to give him some credit for helping me on that same journey that you're on. That being said, are there any, I can obviously see that you're a book reader by your background. So are there any books that you have enjoyed reading that you feel like help cultivate that?
You know, there's one that I just picked up, and I've only read the first chapter, Emotional Agility.
Emotional Agility?
Susan David, she's a Harvard psychologist, and she's the lead expert in self-compassion. And the reason why I picked it up, it was, you know, I used to think, oh, you know, that self-compassion, that positive talk, it's kind of that woohoo, it's I don't want to be Pollyannish, etc. And she's done a ton of research on you know, again, the stories that you tell yourself, the emotions that you let anchor, and the main thing is, are the stories that you're telling yourself, are they serving you? It's giving your, we talked about emotions earlier. It's agility. It's giving yourself a break. Not saying, oh, it's okay. Oh, it's okay. Not, but again, being able to drive and move yourself forward, but being kind, being just like how you would to a dear friend. You know, would you say to your friend, okay, your friend messed up? You would tell, yeah, you messed up, but you know what? You're gonna do it better the next time. It's so that's what that's a good read that I just started that I would recommend to help in this area.
Oh, I like it. It's so funny when you said that. I'm like, oh, I can hear you saying that to me if I needed it. And so now you just have to be the same good friend to you that you already are to so many other people. But much easier said than done, right?
Right.
Our expectations of ourselves are usually, I find that in high achievers, they're usually 100 million% unreasonable. It's like, well, I wouldn't expect anyone else to even come close to this, but I know myself. And so, but yeah. So going, kind of tying back into your childhood, and maybe even this portion that you've just shared, if you want to do two answers, where did you find the strength to take yourself from, in your childhood, maybe scenarios that were painful and hurt and you didn't understand why, those types of things, into this amazing Mimi that just has so much power and capability?
Oh, wow. Well, and again, Alicia, you're such a sweetheart. And with
It's not about me being sweet. I'm just telling you what I see. Like, this is all you, girl.
My childhood was just the building block for so many things. And again, I feel that I had some people, some amazing adults, and then this is why helping children is so important. I had two particular adults, father figures who they were like the mentors, who showed me that my father, who could be so brutal at times, these two male figures also showed me that men could be loving, that they could be kind, that they could be flexible, that that you could fail, make mistakes. Because for my father, he wanted the best. He did the best that he could. He wanted the best for his children, and so for him, failure was not an option. He wanted us to, that typical Asian straight A's, go on to college, because he didn't come from any education, and he thought the way to opportunities in this country was education, and to be the best. I mean, to be the best among, and not to fail. So I got very lucky in having adult figures in my life to show, again, that compassion and that love. And so that gave me that building block and the strength, the courage, and really, the courage to believe in myself and continue on forward. So
I love it. I'm curious, you totally hit my next question on the head, which was going to be if you had a mentor and who they were, and what they were able to offer you. And so you kind of got that one. But what I'm curious about is, lots of times when you see a woman who comes from a family where the father is, kind of like you've explained, they have a hard time connecting with men later on in their life, which is obviously not what's going on there. I'm like, I see a very happy marriage and a very successful one. And I have to think that that comes from a lot of hard work and effort from your side, and a lot of, working on yourself, because the things that you experienced with your father have nothing to do with Jim. However, I could see how Jim might easily, especially in a role where you guys are working together every day and you have to hold each other, accountable, where that could come into play. Has that happened before? Or there scenarios where you were like, oh.
Absolutely. And Alicia, yes, it did take a lot of work. So for me, at a very young age, I'd rather be alone. I'd rather be alone rather than just being in a relationship. The thing that I was always scared about was being in a loveless relationship. And so I knew that at a very early age, but also growing up under a father who was very controlling. Anytime there's a certain tone, a certain voice from a male figure, from Jim, early on in our marriage, boy, it just got me so riled up, and I would just
go for the throat. You're like, oh, honey, watch me now. You know how I know that? Because that's how I am. and Charles tells me quite frequently, and it's lessened over the years. He's like, I'm not your mother. And I'm just like, oh. And then that just infuriates me even more. But then it definitely made me realize, like, there's some work to be done inside of me, because he's having to pay for stuff that I haven't worked out, right?
Yes. So early on in our marriage, it's so funny, Jim would say the same thing as, I'm not your father. So just know that he would say to me, you're in a safe zone. I'm not your father. And I you look at yourself and you stare at yourself, and you realize it's me. It's my issue. And that's when I started reading a lot of books, reading what is it about me, and I know the word trauma is thrown out so much. What is it today? I have the choice of how I'm going to live my life, how I want to react, so it's me. I'm an adult now. And so yes, it took a lot of internal work, reading books, and again, it's just telling myself, are these stories true? Is Jim really trying to control you? Or is it the story that I'm building, saying that Jim's trying to control me? Mm-hmm. And so we've worked quite a bit of, I used to explode quickly. And what I've had to ask myself is stop. And that's why one of my favorite quotes is that Viktor Frankl quote. Are you familiar with that? Between a stimulus and a response. There's, I'm going to get this probably all, between stimulus and response, there's a space, and in that space is our power to choose our response. And I don't remember the rest of it. There's like one more other line. So it's giving myself space and saying, what is this really about? What am I really feeling? Yeah. Is it back from the childhood, thinking that this tone or Jim or maybe another male figure trying to control me, is that what it's really about? Or is it he's having a hard day and he's exhausted, or he just a meeting didn't go well, and so it has nothing to do with me. So so it's a lot of deep work.
I think so. In that scenario where you're talking about, there's the initial reaction, someone rubs you the wrong way or activates something in you, not intentionally, but it does activate something in you. And then you have that little bit of time that you were just talking about before your reaction. How did you cultivate the ability in that split second to step back and give yourself space? Was there something that you read that taught you, or some type of tip that you could share? Because I feel like for a lot of us, it's that little split second and we miss it. We just go from, you said something or did something, it reminded me of previous history with you or not with you, and then my reaction came, right? And then afterwards you're like, why did I act like that? I know this person loves me and cares for me, and now I've acted like a fool and I'm gonna have to go apologize and hope that they can have some grace for me. How did you learn to stop and then do that evaluation that you just talked about?
So I wish I could say it was that easy to like all of a sudden one day say, I'm gonna, create that space. But it was something that took a lot of time, actually. And again, that Viktor Frankl quote, and reading his book, Man's Search for Meaning, which I think is, have you read that book?
I have not read that one.
Oh, it's one of the greatest.
Is it?
It's where he was in a concentration camp.
Oh.
And he talks about how you still had the power to choose what your thoughts, even though you were in this horrific situation, what they couldn't take away from you is your power to choose in your thoughts. And so it's just finally deciding that I didn't want to erupt just because it was the tone or something that I, again, control, that word control. It was, it's me. I have the option. It's about my choices, not anybody else's choice. And again, it's how do I want to live my life? So it's again, a matter of reading books, constantly telling myself, It's my choice. How do I want to live my life? How do I want to have a thriving relationship? What do I need to do? Who do I need to be?
Mhm.
How do I need to do this? So it's just over and over work and creating that. So
That tenacity from your childhood. I'm just
that
like, hey, I'm not going to fail here. I'm going to be the best. And I think that's so much of it. It's just, or at least from what I found is, your answer might not be my answer, even though we have similar areas that we're trying to work on or improve, but it's not giving up. It's knowing that everything that you put in is what you'll get out of it. And so it's beautiful to hear the ways that you've used. Thank you for sharing those. There's a few that I might try, and I love when people recommend books because I am a bookworm at heart. So gonna have to pick that one up.
you have to let me know the ones that you enjoy.
Oh, girl, my favorite that I'm in right now is The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. Have you read that one?
That book, read that years.
Oh.
I love Eckhart Tolle.
Yeah.
That's one of my. Again, one of, in fact, I have it on my desk here. One of my favorite quotes from Eckhart Tolle: "Any of us are only ever a heartbeat away from the end of our physical lives, and therefore we need to make peace with the uncertainty of the future and embrace the present." I have that sitting on my desk.
Yeah, beautiful. But I'm only, I think, about halfway through that book. I look over there because it's sitting on my desk, and I'm just astounded by how simple it really is and how complicated I've tried to make it for years. And I'm like,
yeah, don't we all? Don't we all?
I mean, I guess, I don't know. I definitely know I do. So it's nice to trade books. I'm glad you've read that one. How do you feel, or what do you feel that there was in any of this? And I kind of have an idea of what you might say, but that you had to let go of, or maybe surrender to on this journey that you've been on?
Anger. That's easy for me. I had to let go of anger. And I thought anger was a protective mechanism for me. I wouldn't show anger to the public world, but to people who are the closest to me, in order to protect myself and have a layer of protection. It was anger. So people, yes, who know me very well, I could quickly, Jim would see that early on in our marriage. And I thought, again, it's my way of protecting myself, making him aware that we are in this partnership, that I had to when I let anger go, that was the most freeing. And that's when our relationship evolved. That's when we could communicate better, when we started having more fun, when I could truly let myself be loved, truly let him love me. I mean, this man loves me, and I love him, but truly to feel love and let that go. What did that mean? Being vulnerable and being exposed. But the minute you let that go, the feeling, the joyfulness that comes your way is just, it's just pure joy. So you have to have both, and that's what I learned is letting that go.
Wow. Do you feel like anger, you ever used it as a motivator?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Anger toward myself, pushing myself is the names that I've called myself. I mean, like you said, the things that you would never, call your best friend. So I use that to motivate myself. It's that dark, it's that darkness. I think everybody has that darkness, but I used to use that darkness to push myself, and through anger, thinking I'm going to reach my goals. And you know what, you do, but to a point.
That's what I was going to tell you. I definitely had similar scenarios and I used it. It's just like anger creates a lot of momentum.
Mhm.
And you're able, if you can, that's the thing. You think that you're controlling the anger. And so you're like, as long as I'm harnessing this and I'm using it to propel me forward, then it's okay. And then
Right.
you look up and you realize that's a monster you can't control. And it was just letting you think you had it controlled. Or at least for me,
Exactly.
that's how it manifested itself. I used my anger from areas in my life where I felt like I had been victimized, and I used it to propel myself successfully forward in business, and it
Mhm.
worked. But
Mhm.
then I looked up and I was like, I'm not happy.
Right.
I'm upset and I don't feel happy, and I could tell that my anger was tiring my husband out. It's like how long can you expect someone to live with someone who's angry all the time, right? It's not happy or fun like you said. And
It's
so
exhausting.
yeah, exhausting. And it's exhausting to yourself too, right? You're just
Yes.
like constantly beating yourself up and it drives you, but it's like, why don't I think that there's a better way to drive ourselves. Like
Yeah, and
we
you're
are
right.
we want to accomplish and attain our dreams and we can do it peacefully in joy and love. And that being said, I'm so curious, how have you altered from anger to your current state? How do you motivate yourself now? What feelings are you using to motivate Mimi?
Now for me it's creation. It's that creativity. So I get so excited to for example, like with our business right now, we're constantly pivoting. We're constantly trying to add how can we better communicate our message, how can we better serve our entrepreneur clients. It's yeah, it's been creative. It's that, and then how can I serve? You know, how can I serve in helping others in understanding that they have opportunities? And I mean, the crazy world that we live in today. If people understand how there's so much opportunities, it would just continue to drive. So anyways, yeah, it's just really being creative, trying to, it's that be the best that you can be so that you can't be ignored.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what drives me, that creativity and constantly wanting to get better and better.
Yeah, and that's from a positive angle instead of from the negative, which is
Right.
it's so nice. So much of it, and I think you kind of hit the nail on the head earlier. It's all about that story. Like, what story are we telling ourselves constantly, and is it a positive one? And does it serve us, or is it a negative one? Because sometimes negative stories can still serve you,
Right.
but the end result is what type of energy, or for me, that's what I say. What type of energy do I want in my life? What type of energy do I want others to feel when I walk in the room? And it's not an angry person who's accomplished a lot. It's a joyful, loving, kind person who's also accomplished a lot. But it's definitely intriguing to see the ways that people propel themselves forward. So thank you for sharing that. My one of my last questions is going to be about self-care, because women, so many times we think about ourselves last, right? And just like you were stating earlier, you care so much for everybody to feel comfortable and happy and welcomed that sometimes, and I don't know if this is true for you, but definitely for me, I forget about Alicia. Like, what does Alicia need, and how does Alicia need to be served today? So, what are some of your self care rituals that you're like, you know what, when I'm having a hard time, this is what I do?
Okay, so I self care for me. I love spa. I call it a spa day. So I really enjoy going in and getting pampered and massages and things like that. But unfortunately, like you say, I don't do enough of that, and so I've got to be better at the self care. One thing though that is not a deal breaker, and I feel that's really important as far as self care, fitness. Taking care of yourself, eating well, working out. So that, to me, that may fall under self-care, but that's something important that I care about myself enough to take care of myself.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so as far as fitness, eating well, Morning ritual. So the morning ritual is just having some quiet time in the morning, coffee time, quiet time, journaling. But as far as actual self-care, it's my favorite thing is spa day.
Girl, I don't blame you. I can go for a 90-minute massage too. My husband's like 15 minutes and he's like, that's enough. I've had enough. And I'm like, well, I'll take his extra 45. I guess he doesn't need it. Mimi, I wanted to just thank you so much for being here today and sharing with us. As we wrap up the interview, I have to ask you, I'm so sorry, I got tongue-tied there. If there was one final thought that you would like to leave with our listeners, maybe something that you feel is super important and I didn't hit on it, or that would just greatly impact people and you know, out of your experience you'd like to share, is there something like that?
Let's see. Well, gosh, you've asked me so many wonderful questions, Alicia. And again, it's been, such an honor to be on your show. I would just say, just continue to try different things and don't be tenacious and keep trying. Don't give up. And if there's something burning, you have a deep burning desire to do something, go for it. You know, is we have this one life, and it's such a remarkable life, is just to go for it. You know, that's what I would leave everybody and just say, go for it, go for it, go for it.
Yeah. Your trying the thing on analogy was so good. I feel like I'm going to probably use that every day. And it applies to so many things. Just go for it. Guess what? If it doesn't work, try the next thing on. It's not permanent. And so many times in my life, I know that I've taken things so seriously. And then when I look back, I'm like, why did I take that so seriously?
Why?
Yeah. It's like, okay, you can live and just breathe a little, lighten up. It's going to be okay. So thank you for that, Mimi. Now we're at the final portion of the interview, and I like to do a Q&A. And so we actually got a couple questions posted on the League of Goddesses to ask you. And if you're good with it, then we'll just start right in on that. Does that sound okay?
Let's go for it.
Okay, great. So, and I guess we didn't jump too much into some of these, but one of the questions from Crystal Reyes was, what are your top 5 advices for setting up a budget for someone in their 20s?
Setting up a budget in their 20s, the top 5. First of all, okay, so one thing when you're starting off, most in their 20s are living paycheck to paycheck. And so you really want to make sure to set something aside where it automatically goes into a savings account, because if you say, I'm going to eventually get to it, it's not going to happen. So I would say look at maybe starting off with like 10%. I know that doesn't sound like very much, but having that go from one account to another account that you're not going to touch, okay, whether it's a savings account or whatever it is, so that it automatically starts taking that money. You don't see that money, that amount, and start there. So I would do that in your 20s. And then again, number 2 is budget. So instead of spending, is look at where are your expenses, budget for whatever is critical, things that you have to live, your means, and then set a, again, play money. Okay, so you've got your actual money that you have to take care of, so your living expenses. You've got your play money, and then also a portion that will go automatically to savings, is what I would say as a 20-year-old.
I couldn't agree more. I don't know if your father taught you how to budget, but mine did a lot of budgeting, but he never sat down and taught me. And so it was definitely something that I had to figure out on my own. But as you said, I also came from, very meager background. And so I didn't want to ever hear those arguments in my home. I was just like, I'm not doing it. And so as I've helped some of our staff create budgets, like personal ones, that is such a big deal. Nobody tells you like, hey, just move the savings over. It's just not an option. Like, it's just not an option. Pretend like it doesn't exist. Just pretend like you make less. It works. So
it's amazing. Over the next several years, how that builds up. It really is amazing. Yeah, we've done that with a lot of our entrepreneur clients. Well, they'll just forget about a portion, and it's like, wow. I didn't realize how, it makes it so much easier that way.
It stacks up really quickly, and it's just, I think I have two favorite cases in our office because I offered this budgeting class not knowing if anybody would want it or not, because to me, I'm like, well, it's not special. Like, what I do for our company, it's not special. It's just numbers in and out. It's obvious, right? And my husband was just like, okay, you're crazy. Do you remember where you came from? And I guess, like most high-powered women, we just forget. It's like, oh, well, this is natural and easy now, right? And so he's like, offer a class and see what happens. And so I just offered, and almost all of our office staff attended it. And then I had 3 of them that just really asked me to meet with them every month. And within the first 3 months of meeting, all of them got out of all of their credit card debt.
Oh, that's
and it was just like, that was all of their major complaints. I have so many credit cards and I just don't know what to do with them, don't know how to handle it. And it was just shocking for them to see, holy cow, I set these goals and then I followed what she told me and then it was gone in 3 months.
Right.
I'm like, it's not an insurmountable mountain. You just have to have a pathway.
Right. You have to have a plan. And like you said, and that's a great advice, is getting rid of credit card debt. So
yeah, that one I can't stand. I'm like, wait a second. You're paying someone money to, no. The credit card should pay you. Now let me show you how to do that.
That's crazy.
Yes, that's a fun game that I enjoy. I'm like, my husband, he just laughs because I feel like it's Tetris, it's like playing Tetris. Just like fit the blocks. And then I always joke about all of the rewards from our cards are my shoe budget and he can't say anything. I'm like, whatever shoes I buy with, that's free money, like, you don't say shit about it. And he's just like, that came from the shoe budget. Okay, let's move on to your next question. So sorry.
No problem.
Let's see. The next one. The next one. Okay, this one's a really good one, Mimi, and I'm sorry I had a little bit of technical difficulties there. What is the best financial advice that you could give to a parent for them to share with their child? That one's so intriguing to me.
So again, it's making the child aware of how important a dollar is, and so earning. And so one of the things that I know, Jim, and I love the story, Jim's father would say, if you earn, let's say there was something like a toy that Jim as a little boy wanted, I will pay for half as long as you can earn the other half. So it's really making the child aware of the importance of money. So rather than just giving money to the child, is helping the child understand how to save money, how the money can grow, that's what I would just recommend, Okay, just rather than just giving money, is just, again, saving, whether it's through tasks, earning the value of money, showing that maybe a certain job is worth this amount, and then earning toward that, and then earning half, like how Jim's father did, is I will pay for half if you can earn the other half. So it's about the value, understanding and learning about the value of it.
I'm really curious when that would happen, if Jim would change his mind when he got the other half of the money. Like, oh, never mind, it's not worth it to me anymore. I've changed my mind. I could see that.
my God, you hit it right on the nail. He would do that. He'd go, you know what? I'd rather save. So Jim became a really good saver.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think I'm curious if he's spoken with you about this or not. When you do something like that with your children, when do you guys feel like it's an appropriate time to give? So of course you're not going to always make them earn half of everything, but have you found like a good happy medium? Do you just say, hey, for birthday and Christmas and whatever other times, these are when gifts are given and the other times we earn them? Any thoughts on that?
So as far as us, we have a bunch of nieces and nephews, and so uh, what we've done, and we don't have children of our own, and so what we've done is to help other children is, again, the value of we'll give gifts, like at certain time, birthdays, celebrations, holidays and things like that. But if it's something, so we mentor the kids that I was telling you about earlier, who come from challenging families. And if they really want something, then it's a job or a task. It's something that they have to do to show the value, that they have to earn the money. That money is not going to be given to them. So whether it's cleaning something out, whether it's whatever that I need done to go run an errand for me. So then we'll agree on an amount, and it won't be a ridiculous amount. It'll be a reasonable amount of what you would normally pay for some task or something like that. And so that's what we've done.
Yeah. So basically giving them the opportunity to start earning. I mean,
yeah,
it's great. Because that is what real life is about. It's like nobody's giving you anything.
Yeah, it doesn't come for free. And so that's why we want to show that you can make money. Yeah. If you do something and you act, you can make money. Yeah. So that's what we try to show.
I agree with that. Okay, so this last question takes it a different way, but I think it's really good. And I think you'll probably have an amazing answer. So this last question was, how do you create and maintain your network?
How do we create and maintain our network?
How do you do it?
Okay, how do I? So for me, being part of groups, being part of a community and tribe, like we were talking about earlier, the relationships is, so I'm part of so many different groups. I want to learn, I want to grow, I want to be able to serve and to help. And so, for example, there's some female groups that I have. I still am in touch with my cheerleader buddies from back in the day. And so we get together, we make sure to stay connected. I have another, what's called an Illuminate You group. So it's a matter of staying in touch. It's a matter of staying in touch and the willingness, and it's having to act, because it's not going to come to you, but constantly staying in touch with people who are important and who I want to learn and grow.
Yeah. So time investment, that's really what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. Wonderful. I knew you'd have a good answer for that one. I was like, oh, that's a Mimi one. Very, very good one for you. All right, Mimi, I appreciate your time so much. And I know I ran a little bit over, so thank you for that. I think that you shared some wonderful knowledge, definitely for myself, and I think that others too, we can all learn from what you've taught. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing all of your authentic truths. It's really been an honor to have you here on the League of Goddesses interview series. And I look forward to just continuing to stay in touch with you and watch the badass that you're going to continue to be and learn from you. So if our listeners would like to connect with you, what is the best way that they can reach out? What is your mode of connection? Should they go to your website, or do you have somewhere better that you prefer?
Yeah, our website, so dowealth.com, and is the best way. And we also have what's called Make Rich Real.com, which they can, if our listeners are interested in taking an assessment to see where their financial wealth status is, and it's kind of like a fun little assessment that they can take. So at makerichreal.com.
That's awesome. What I'll do is I'll make sure that those links are in the video posted in there so that people can just click them and go straight to them, because I think that would be so helpful. And I mean, even for us, we should probably take that too. It's like, oh, let's see where we are, and have somebody that we trust review it and analyze it for us. So that would be lovely. For all of you who have joined this live event, thank you guys so much. For those of you who will watch it in the future, we hope that you enjoy. Please visit my website to sign up for an invitation to the next League of Goddesses interview. You can either go to aliciacovey.com or theleagueofgoddesses.com. And until next time, please live an extraordinary life. Bye, guys. Thank you, Mimi.
Bye, Alicia. Thank you so much for having me. It was an honor.
Oh,
Bye-bye.
it was my pleasure. Thank you so much. We'll chat with you soon. Bye.